In 2019, he represented Ivory Coast in the Homeless World Cup. In 2024-25, he finished as Wycombe Wanderers top scorer and was crowned both League One Player and Young Player of the season. And now, as of 13th of August 2025, despite fierce competition for his signature, 22-year-old striker Richard Kone is officially a Queen's Park Rangers player. So, who is Kone, what type of centre forward is he, and what will he bring to the R's this season? I'm Connor aka Hoopser, I talk all things QPR, and in this transfer deep dive I'm going to be answering all of those questions and more, so let's get into it. Richard Kone was born on the 15th of July 2003 in Abidjan in the Ivory Coast, and his journey into the professional game is nothing short of remarkable. Having experienced significant hardship in his early life, Kone was living on the streets aged 16, but an opportunity to represent the Ivory Coast national team at the Homeless World Cup changed everything. A friend had introduced him to the Don't Forget Them Association, a group that used sport to reintegrate homeless children and adults, and having played football since he was a young child, he was encouraged to train for a chance to compete in the competition in Cardiff. Sure enough, he was soon selected, and after a missed flight and 15-hour journey, the Ivory Coast team arrived in Wales in what was Kone's first ever time on a plane and first time abroad full stop. The Ivory Coast finished third in Tier 4, picking up a bronze medal in the Dragon Cup, but for 17-year-old Kone, the impact went well beyond a medal, because after the tournament's conclusion, he was able to remain in the UK to continue playing football. He soon joined Dagenham-based non-league side Lopez Tavares, now known as Athletic Newham, and this is where his reputation as a prolific goalscorer really began, because in his first season alone, he scored 20 goals in 31 appearances. Even back then, having only just turned 18, his immense form was enough to attract the attention of professional clubs. He spent the summer of 2021 on trial with Colchester United, appearing in several pre-season friendlies and impressing staff with a goal and assist against Billericay Town. The U's inevitably were keen to sign him permanently, but before the deal could be formalised, manager at the time Hayden Mullins confirmed to the media that amongst interest from a number of sides, Kone had joined a Premier League club on trial, and while there was no official confirmation of who it was, one source suggests it was Brentford. Unfortunately for Kone, things wouldn't quite work out that summer, the striker's visa status preventing a move into professional football for the time being, but it made little difference to his form in 21-22, scoring 42 goals in 48 games in all competitions following promotion to the Essex Senior League and finishing the division's top scorer with 31. Another 40 goals in all competitions followed in 22-23, and that was more than enough to reignite interest from professional clubs, with League One Wycombe Wanderers this time taking him on trial in the summer of 2023. He impressed again, scoring in pre-season wins over Aldershot Town and Barnet, and after scoring another 21 goals for Athletic Newham in the first half of 23-24, Kone finally put pen to paper on his first ever permanent professional contract with Wycombe Wanderers on the 1st of January 2024. Manager Matt Bloomfield had been tracking the striker for a long time, and at long last, he finally had his man. 9 days later, Kone made his competitive Wycombe debut, starting and scoring in a 2-1 EFL Trophy round of 16 win over West Ham United under-21s. 4 days later, he made his League One debut from the bench against Lincoln City, and by the end of the month, he claimed his first ever professional league goal in a 2-2 draw against Fleetwood Town. Kone ended the season with 4 goals and 4 assists in 21 games in all competitions, but it was his form in League One last season that made everyone sit up and notice, with 21 goals and 5 assists from 52 appearances in all competitions. He started the season as he meant to go on, scoring against Wrexham on the opening day and adding another 5 goals and 2 assists in all competitions by October, but it was his perfect hat-trick in just 9 minutes from the bench to overturn a 1-0 deficit against Peterborough United that really started to catch the eye. By the turn of the year, with 12 league goals, Wycombe top of the league and a contract extension already under his belt, things were looking pretty good for both club and player. When manager Matt Bloomfield surprisingly left to take over struggling Luton Town in the Championship, however, things took a bit of a turn. Firstly, because he instantly tried to take Kone with him, the Hatters making a number of bids reportedly as high as £6 million, but the chairboys rejecting all of their approaches. Clearly, the outside noise was not a distraction for the striker at the time, as he added another 4 league goals in January alone. But when Wycombe's form as a whole tapered off from February onwards under Bloomfield's successor Mike Dodds, so did Kone's goal-scoring form, with 2 goals and 3 assists to the end of the season as the side slipped into the playoff places and lost 1-0 on aggregate to eventual promotion winners Charlton Athletic. Even still, this had been an exceptional first full campaign in professional football, and the EFL clearly agreed with Kone named both League One Player and Young Player of the Season. Such plaudits meant that Wycombe were going to have a hard time keeping a hold of their top scorer this summer, with everyone from Swansea, Preston, Ipswich, Norwich, Borough, Leicester, Southampton, Brentford, Crystal Palace, Toulouse and Birmingham all reportedly interested in his signature, and they're just the ones that we know about. For the second time in this window though, it's QPR that have beaten the competition to signing one of League One's most exciting prospects, and the arrival of such a prolific goalscorer has caught the attention of the fan base for very good reason. So what kind of striker is Kone exactly, and what will he offer under Stefan this season? Coming in at 6'1", the 22-year-old is an extremely promising clinical and physical centre forward who can press, hold up the ball, link up play, run in behind, take on his man, and most importantly, find the back of the net. In other words, despite 17 of his 18 league goals last season coming from inside the box, he's a striker that is going to offer far more on the pitch than just his finishing, even if that's the aspect of his game that we so desperately need. His heavy involvement in games is reflected through his number of touches, because not only did he have the most touches in the box of any League One striker last season with 243, but he was also in the top 2.1% for touches outside of it. Although he's not physically the biggest or quickest, he's exceptionally strong and mobile, allowing him to shield the ball, shrug off defenders and spin into space with ease. That exceptional movement not only allows him to find pockets in the box between centre-backs and make intelligent runs at both posts, but it also enables him to threaten in the channels too, which should create plenty of room for Chair and co behind to operate in. In terms of his finishing, despite being right-footed, he's very comfortable shooting with his left, and having been in the top 9% for aerial duels won last season, he will also offer QPR a more significant frontline threat from crosses, free kicks and corners. Now, anyone who's watched his goal compilation from last season may question whether he'll be able to profit quite so well in the Championship, given there's some questionable goalkeeping and defending in those clips. And that is a valid question, but his placement and instinct gives me confidence that he will translate well to the second tier. For so many of those goals, he so rarely has to look at the net before shooting. He knows where the corners are, he trusts his finishing ability to find them, and he reacts quickly when presented a goal-scoring opportunity. These are the kind of traits that buy you an extra half a second against a defender or keeper, and that's the kind of ability that is present in so many top centre forwards. So what are Kone's weaknesses and where is there room for improvement? Like many, he can struggle against low blocks, something he'll encounter much more in this division, so it's going to be on Stefan and his coaching staff to work out how he can remain a threat in those scenarios. His passing can also be hit and miss, and that's going to need to be sharpened up to make the most of the likes of Dembele, Poku and Chair behind and around him. Finally, his pressing, whilst energetic, can be inconsistent, and when unsupported he can lose track of his defensive duties, leaving gaps in his side's press. Thankfully though, these are all very much coachable traits, and his upside far outweighs the weaker elements of his all-round game. So what do you think? I, like so many others, am incredibly excited by this one, and I'm still pretty amazed we've managed to pull it off amongst so much interest from other clubs, many of which would have been able to offer far more competitive salaries. Evidently, and not for the first time this summer, Julien Stéphan's track record of developing young players is proving to be an invaluable asset in our sales pitch, something that Kone referenced himself in his first interview with the club. The fee, reportedly 2.25 million up front, potentially rising to 5 million with a 22.5% sell-on, is pretty impressive too, given the supposed bids being submitted back at the start of the year, and given we sold Kelman for more than that upfront price, we've effectively swapped strikers to someone who should, on paper, suit QPR's playstyle considerably more. Simply put, Kone looks like the bagsman we've so desperately needed for many a year now, and crucially, if he can hit the high ceiling that he so clearly has, he's got potential to progress beyond QPR in the coming years, and if that happens, that £5 million fee, while high at first glance, could prove to be a shrewd investment. For now though, let's give him the time and space he needs to settle in at a new club. This will be, after all, only his second full season at professional level, and a huge new challenge for a hungry young striker with something to prove. Anyway, that's all from me. What do you reckon? I'd be surprised if you're not excited by this one. Do let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Thank you so much for tuning in for this transfer deep dive. If you've enjoyed it and you haven't checked out Hoopsa before, please consider hitting the like and subscribe buttons, and hopefully I'll see you for a future video. Cheers!